Can you give me a case in United States history where a enemy combatant caught on a battlefield was tried in civilian court?
I don't know. I'd have to look at that. I think that, you know, the determination I've made...
We're making history here, Mr. Attorney General. I'll answer it for you. The answer is no.
Gotcha. Joining us now from New Orleans, Fox News analyst Karl Rove. So, Mr. Rove, the president has to know, as I talked about with Dick Morris, he has to know. This is a very unpopular policy. His attorney general looked like a third grader today in front of the Senate, could not defend it. So what's really going on here?
Well, I think he is governing as a very liberal president from the very far left wing of the Democratic Party. And I also think they're in a little bit of denial in the White House. I think their attitude was, look, the world will applaud us for being so transparent and open about how we deal with these. The American people will appreciate that we're moving forward in a way that protects our values. And whatever their initial reaction, ultimately the American people will sustain us in it. It's the same way with health care. Their attitude on health care is they've got to know the polls say that the American people don't want this. But I think what they've convinced themselves is that they are in more trouble if they fail to pass something than if they pass a bad bill. So they think they'll have a success when they pass a bill, admittedly a bad bill, but pass a bill and the American people will suddenly turn around and applaud them. So I think it's a combination of things, a liberal mindset and then sort of a self-delusion, if you will, on how these things are going to be reacted.
In the healthcare arena, I understand it. They say, look, if we can get it through, then we've got 2 or 3 years for it to germinate, and then people will appreciate us for getting it through. I understand that. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, that is a terrible decision. That's going to come back to bite them right in the butt. Because you know, I know, and everybody else knows, it's going to cost the city of New York between $75 and $100 million. These animals are going to get up there. They're going to lie. The lawyers are going to turn it into a anti-Bush, anti-CIA, anti-American extravaganza. And the American people are going to seethe through this trial and blame it on Barack Obama. And I can't imagine him not knowing that.
Well, I think there's a little bit of self-delusion here. I mean,
how could there be, Mr. Rove? These are big boys. These are guys who came out of nowhere and captured the White House.
You have to look at their behavior throughout the year. They came out with a stimulus package that didn't stimulate, and they think it's going great. They came out with a budget plan in February that calls for doubling the size of the national debt in 5 years and tripling it in 10, and they thought that was fine. They came out with a cap and trade bill that barely passed the House and is going nowhere in the Senate, and they think they're making progress on climate. They got the health care bill that nobody is for, and they think it is more vital to pass a bad bill than it is to pass no bill at all. So look, I'm not saying I came with a preconceived notion. I'm just trying to explain this kind of behavior that we've seen for the last 10 months.
I'm not buying that 100%, because I just think they're shrewder than that, particularly the president himself.
If they're shrewd, how did they get themselves into this situation?
That's an excellent question.
If they're shrewd, if they're smart, how'd they get themselves into this?
Let me put forth something, and I'm going to cite your own boss. I'm going to cite your boss, President Bush. He sat there for 2 years watching Iraq fall apart and the poll numbers crater, and he didn't do anything. Now, he didn't change the policy. He watched it go down. He got hammered in the press. And you guys knew how the American public was turning against it. So I think it's the same thing. It's almost a siege mentality.
No. His attitude was, I'm going to do the right thing, and the right thing will work. And when the right thing gets done, American people's attitude will change.
Well, that's what they're doing.
And that's what happened.
That's what they're doing.
Maybe you're right. But again, I think there's a difference between pursuing right policy, as was happening in the surge, and pursuing wrong policy and deluding yourself that somehow or another the American people are going to applaud what we know, what you and I both know, is going to be a disaster in the case of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Or pursuing what is going to be a disaster in the health care bill. I mean, look, when you cut Medicare by a third, do you think seniors are not going to be up in arms? When you tax medical device companies $20 billion and pharmaceutical companies $80 billion and raise taxes on everybody and levy a 2.5% tax on everybody who has a health insurance policy in America, don't you think people are going to be up in arms by the time
if that happens? They certainly will be.
Absolutely.
But it's so chaotic that nobody knows what's going to happen in the healthcare arena.
I know, but at least they know what these elements are in the bill, and yet they're still for the bill, and it's because they think at the end of the day, You know, they've said it. They sent Bill Clinton up to Capitol Hill a couple of weeks ago, and he came out and told us what the White House was encouraging him to say, which was the failure to pass health care in 1993 is what doomed them in 1994, not their attempt to pass a really bad bill in 93.
Yeah.
That's what doomed them.
All right. Well,
That's
look,
what doomed them.
Morris and you pretty much disagree. The Khalid Sheikh Mohammed thing, it's just mind-boggling. The health care thing is still undefined a little bit, but most people don't want it because they don't understand it.